the North, a podcast by the DAV of Minnesota, dedicated to empowering all who've served. I'm still your host, Trent Dilks, and rejoining me is co-host Mike McKillany. We're also joined now by Lori Brook. Lori is the executive director of the DAV of Minnesota Foundation, an Army veteran, Gold Star mother, and served for 16 years as a county veteran service officer in Becker County. Welcome, Lori.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon, Lori.
And in this segment, we're going to take a look at, we're going to touch on benefits. It's a huge topic. There's no way we can go in depth, but, we've told some stories about service. We've touched a little bit on after service. And I think a nice way to kind of bookend this is going to be talk a little bit about the benefits, Mike, that you use, that I used, Lori, that you've helped veterans use and used yourself as you came out of service. So that's really where I'd like to start, Mike. If a benefit jumped out at you as one of the beneficial really came in handy for you after you got out, was there one shining star of a benefit?
Oh yeah, well it'd have to be the GI Bill, and then the home loan, and then some of the state benefits. So really all of them combined. Yeah. I mean, really, you say benefit. Well, one of the main benefits is disability benefits.
Yeah.
Got wounded, got blown apart and stapled and glued back together, and you're never going to be the same. So here's some disability compensation, and then the healthcare benefits for VA. I mean, that's been a big thing in my nearly 20 years? Yeah, 23 years since I was wounded, but I retired 2010, and just knowing that okay, I can use the VA for my healthcare. So healthcare is not a huge option in future employment, for me, it's a big deal.
The healthcare is huge. Let's start with disability benefits. I started out 10 years ago. It was part of what I did was help people. Lori, you spent 16 years helping people with disability benefits claims, VA disability compensation. Did you ever see some of the reluctance? I think I dealt with reluctance, especially among some of the Vietnam veterans, but even now in the post 9/11, I've seen some reluctance to go after that as if, no, that's for somebody else.
It's exactly. People would come in, especially Vietnam veterans. I'm going to call them out a little bit. Number one, they had an experience when they came back that wasn't positive, and then they got in their minds, they went to work, buried themselves in the work, and somebody else needs it more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how disability benefits or VA health benefits work. So just explaining to them, you need it too. And as in the case of VA health benefits, even if you may not qualify because they had income in those, money congressionally follows numbers.
Yeah.
So if you may not want to use the VA and enroll it, it helps every other veteran that is in the VA because Congress says we have this many people that are enrolled and we need this many dollars. And so that was a big thing when you explained it that way. By enrolling, you are helping other veterans also.
I always try to explain it doesn't reslice the pie. It grows the pie. This is not a finite pot where if you had an injury in Iraq and you get your 30% service connection and a small monthly check for, what that is, like $500 somewhere in there, you're not taking away. They're not saying, ooh, we can't award another veteran. You are another disabled veteran. You are growing the pie of what is needed for the health care, the long-term care of our veterans, and way down the road, we're going to be talking about the aging veteran care, things like that, this population. So you grow the pie when you utilize the benefits you earned.
Right. And you also then make everybody take notice within the VA system and congressionally what those disabilities are because they were different in Vietnam, they're different in OIF, and we need to provide services for the changing population that we currently have by numbers. So Agent Orange, Big Vietnam, now we have the burn pits. They're different, and we need medically to treat them differently and have those services available. So just the awareness of coming in and understanding that by doing that, you are growing the piece of pie and you are helping other veterans and you're helping future veterans. And one of the big things that I heard, Vietnam veterans would come in and they were angry because OIF veterans had all the attention and were getting all this money. And to explain to them that you go to the VA, right? Yes. You are a beneficiary of that attention, and we learned from Vietnam that we need to understand it and provide the resources. So even though it looks like it's all a specific conflict that is getting the attention, World War II veterans were benefiting Vietnam because of the attention drawn to it and expanding the
The
services.
influx of cash into the VA upgraded the service. Mike, you look like you had something you wanted
Yeah,
to
no,
add
I would
there.
just agree. You know, the Vietnam veterans, I mean, gosh, you know, I always kind of tease them when they finally call in, and I would tell you probably about half the calls are Vietnam veterans, never used a benefit, you know, and you get their 214 and, oh, I was 11 bang bang and, you know, Bronze Stars and 2 tours and you have never used the VA, any benefits, nothing? Nope. You know, didn't figure I needed it. I was, you know, one of the lucky ones. It's like, man, thank God you called us. Because really, like you said, they set the stage and made it easy for us. You know what I mean? I think, and that's a big deal. But they're still calling in, and they're just, they all earned it. They all deserve it. And
I'm going to bring it back a little bit here on disability compensation. And feel free not to chime in if you don't feel like it, because this could be a little bit controversial. But there's a flip side to disability compensation. I have seen where the pursuit of 100% service connection becomes the absolute goal of some veterans. And it, look, if you are there and you're rated and it's your benefit, absolutely use it. But short of 100%, and especially for some of those that say you can't work or you'll lose this benefit, short of 100%, it really can be there to boost where you're at. To boost, you know, you get a job and you're 70%, so you're getting, I don't know, $24,000 a year, and you have a job that you like and it pays you 60. Well, now your take home, we know from the 24, you add on to that, it's like 32 if it were taxed. Anyway, your earning power is like somebody with a gross of 92. Right? It can be used, and that's really what it's kind of intended for, is the compensation for what may have been lost earning potentials,
Right.
and for the injuries and the result, and that's how you earn it. My concern is on the far side of the spectrum is we have some veterans obsessed with get to the 100%. And if that's where you're at, absolutely, you earned it. But remember, you're now capping yourself. And, you know, 100% is probably, what, $38,000 a year if you're not married. And that's it. That's where you're going to stay with small COLA increases if you get something that says you can't work. So, you know, just be careful about that pursuit. I worry that we lose some veterans to almost an obsessive pursuit of the next level up.
I think it becomes a little bit of an addiction. You get this, and then you realize I could grow that. I think one of the other big misconceptions when you do that is that compensation is about quality of life. It's really about your earning capacity. That's what it was intended for. And just to be realistic, and if you get a decision letter back that says that you have been denied something, don't focus on that. Focus on why it was denied, and do you meet that criteria? Just to keep submitting it thinking they're going to get tired and give it to you because you think you deserve it, you really have to meet the criteria. And sometimes you don't want to.
Yeah.
Somebody will come in and say, I was on a ship, I think I have mesothelioma. And I'm like, do you really understand what that means if you were to have that? We don't want you to have that.
Yeah, yep.
And it just is, it's advertising on TV. That I think is a huge piece of it with the people that take money to do this, where, Mike, doesn't get paid.
No.
If you get a claim and it's got a back pay or anything, Mike doesn't get any extra money for that. It goes to you. But if you hire somebody from the outside, you have to give a portion of that.
You get into the claim sharks, and
Right.
yeah, it's, I don't know. So we can move on from that one, but it's just something that I've noticed. Mike, you touched on the GI Bill. That was huge for me.
Yep.
From neither of my parents had graduated high school. You know, I was the first in a long line to go to college. And the GI Bill was absolutely the thing for me. Like that was my motivator, getting that college degree. It took me a long time. My 4-year degree was the best 9.5 years I spent.
Yeah.
But you know, it was really the thing And I couldn't agree more that education was really, as I stepped out into the real world and out of the military, that was.
Right, because theoretically, that pays for the credentialing you need to get, to be successful, right? But there's the whole other side of it, the hard work and the endurance, in whatever industry you're in. But no, it's huge, and people are smart in the military. They're stacking VR&E, they're stacking GI Bill, they're starting it. I was one of those guys towards the end of my career. I retired over 20 years, and it was like, well, I'm getting out. I better, get my school finished now, and had done a little bit while I was in the military, but kind of finished it up. And but yeah, GI Bill. I didn't even expend my GI Bill till I, worked on my master's. I was hoping my kids were going to take it, but they didn't press me with their grades, so I had to reverse that.
Well, and now we're still waiting for. I'm watching for the guidance. There's a Supreme Court ruling that's probably about a month old as we're recording this. That says, hey, there's a law on the books that says 48 months. And so for those who are eligible for a post 9/11 and a old Montgomery or some of the other, there's like a 1605 and whatever. It gets complicated, but that the law on the books from the Korean War is still in effect. And so if they have 12 additional months, they use 36 of, let's say, post 9/11, there may still be 12 months of Montgomery GI Bill they were wrongfully denied. So this could be huge. We could be seeing veterans who thought it had expired or thought that they were, had gifted it to their kids so they didn't have any, finding themselves with 12 months of eligibility here to take on an executive MBA course or, 12 months of additional training or reclass. You're in a trade and you want to find something different. All of a sudden you find
certifications. Yeah, and that's another thing. I direct so many people to Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs with their higher education folks because I know that's what they do all day long, and it just gets to be so complicated, all the different chapters and how you can blend it. And, it's like, go see finance at school or go see MDVA and let them tell you how to manage this.
And I'm going to go on a little tangent here. The post 9/11 GI Bill and the forever GI Bill, I think is now what's kind of been the next implementation, allows you to collect the GI Bill for apprenticeships and on-the-job training. So let's say you're a 26-year-old, you're married, a kid, you're coming off of active duty, and the BAH in the town, in a 4-year degree is not of interest, and maybe even 2 years in a tech school is not something you could float. You have a spouse, you have a kid, things like that. It can be used for an apprenticeship. And the stats that I have is years old, but it was at the time over $20,000 additional dollars in the first year of your apprenticeship. And if it's an official union one, like an electrician or a plumber or things like that, you can use it for 2 years. And so while you're on your way to a high-paying trade, you're collecting your GI Bill, a benefit you earn.
You're talking the state benefit,
No, this one's the federal.
This is the federal.
Yeah,
GI
the
Bill.
federal.
Okay, so
and there's also one in states.
Sort of follows. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you can do that, and I remember I had a veteran come into my office working 3 terrible jobs, and I mentioned this. I was like, you could be an apprentice electrician, something like that, and collect your GI Bill, boost your pay while you're working your way up to try to be a journeyman and make the big bucks eventually as a master. Yeah. Had never heard of it.
Terrible problem to have.
Yeah.
All this money and all this opportunity. Yeah, but it still takes that hard work, and so many veterans are non-traditional students, but it's like, well, at least we're good at, staying up late at night because that's what it takes, go to work all day and do your homework till 3, get up at 6 or 4. That was my ideal reading time, and get things knocked out.
But I think what both you and Trent talk about is something, education benefits and benefits in general can be very complicated and overwhelming, and the state of Minnesota does have higher education coordinators that they pay that know everything about education. You don't have to do it by yourself. You can go there. We have county veteran service officers in every county. They can help you navigate it. So if you want to do that, and it seems insurmountable to take a look at anything in higher education, I think becomes insurmountable with all the rules, that's who you go to help.
Yeah.
And they'll answer your questions. And I think that's that's a key piece in Minnesota that we have that's not everywhere in the country.
One I think we're going to dedicate a whole episode to is VR&E. Used to be Voc Rehab. VR&E is huge, right? This is one that you're in a career field, but you can't progress, and you can go and retrain. They can pay for schooling. They can pay for training. I have a contact with the Small Business Bureau, and the VA and the Small Business Bureau are working on a program. It's been authorized to help veterans who are starting small businesses. So now we're talking about money to buy initial stock, items that you might need or the equipment you may need for the business. I mean, the Voc Rehab, I think, is maybe the one of the best kept secrets out there. Could be life changing for a lot of veterans, and understanding those benefits, finding the right professional is going to be huge.
Yeah, and that's, going back to kind of the segment one and the resilience and, just dealing with issues of war, et cetera. I mean, focusing your time and concentrating on kind of the next horizon, not to steal another organization's,
Yeah.
But it really is. It's like, that's what, Lori talked about. We learned from Vietnam veterans. They're busy. You mentioned that, Trent. And I think we're there now, with our generation. It's like, okay, we've got all these great benefits. Let's focus on that, focus on family, get in the next career, and then, things kind of work out from there.
We're coming to an end here. We're going to have a lot more on benefits in future episodes, but when it comes to employability, right, I want to touch on that before we close out. Veterans can bring a lot to the table. A lot of the experiences, the leadership, the skills that they learned, those things can be valuable to companies. And I don't think we always do a good job of promoting those or interpreting those. Lori, I think you've seen some experience or heard some experiences about that.
Well, there's a lot of misconceptions, and veterans feed into that they're broken. They all have PTSD, those things. But if you actually look at the Association for Human Resource Management, they actually have a whole list of why veterans are the most employable, because they can not only take orders, they have initiative, they have stick-to-itness. So when you look at a professional organization like that actually has written in why you should hire a veteran and all the great things about a veteran, there's with general population, veterans are the same. So there's some challenges, but it's mostly positive, and that's what they promote. So I think veterans need to take a look and understand that they bring a lot to the table that other employers would really like to see.
Mike, you have any parting shot here before I wrap this thing up?
No, I just agree with what we've talked about. Not all veterans are broken. I think the military, one of the things I wanted to say last time was, you train as you fight, meaning you endure grueling misery. So when the time comes, it's not that big a deal. And I think that's one of the big sort of lessons, however you want to title that you learn in the military. What's valuable, what's necessary, what's not all that important, and how to just kind of get through various situations, because the next day's coming, and I think that's what it really comes down to. And I think that's something that veterans definitely have a benefit on, is dealing with the suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just, everything sucks at some point in time for everybody. And it's just like, how do you deal with that suck at that moment to get to the next, the next day, the next mission, the next,
keep
whatever
moving.
you're doing.
I couldn't agree more. And I think my parting thoughts here are going to be, we focus a lot on the veterans who needed the most help, right? We focus a lot on veteran suicide. We focus a lot on veteran homelessness, mental health. I think sometimes that can outweigh the fact that there are a lot of great veterans out there climbing mountains, right? Metaphorically and actually, that they're out there, they're doing these things. There are countless veterans out there making the best of it, utilizing their benefits as a leg up. And, they don't get the press. They don't get the sensational stories, but it's out there. It's happening. So I'm going to leave with, remember, don't let serving your country be the last great thing you do. Keep moving forward. That wraps up this episode of Veterans on the North. Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected by subscribing, following us on social media, and visiting our website, davn.org.